Hello and welcome to the Toshogu Podcast, where we break down the latest news, breakthroughs, and ideas shaping the future of artificial intelligence. Today, we're looking at a massive shift happening right now. The era of simply having the smartest AI model is effectively over. We have crossed a threshold where the new frontier isn't about raw intelligence anymore, but it is entirely about who can operationalize that AI safely, audibly, and autonomously across real business systems. Let's begin.
Yeah, it really is such a profound transition. I mean, we spent the last few years, totally obsessed with benchmark scores.
Oh, absolutely.
We treat these models like high school students taking the SATs, right? Freaking out if one model scores 2 points higher on a logic test, or overanalyzing which one writes a slightly more convincing Shakespearean sonnet.
Yeah, it's all about the parlor tricks.
Exactly. But the reality of integrating this technology into a massive organization, it has completely shattered that framework. Like, an enterprise doesn't care if the AI writes a great poem. They care if the AI can securely navigate a corporate network without, violating data compliance. We are finally, thankfully, stopping the practice of treating AI like a consumer search engine.
But that consumer interface is kind of all most people really know, though.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, you open a chat window, you type a prompt, you get an answer. It's a very one-to-one, immediate, and highly manual transaction. But moving from that to actual operational enterprise infrastructure, it requires completely tearing down that interaction model. Imagine for a second that you just hired a brilliant intern.
Okay.
And they have memorized every textbook, they know every coding language, and they can instantly recall literally any fact.
Right, like a total prodigy.
Exactly, a total prodigy. But there is a massive catch.
Okay, what is it?
To get them to do any actual work, you have to stand right over their shoulder, hold their hand, and just guide every single mouse click.
Oh, man. Which is exhausting.
It's totally exhausting. And that reality is exactly where we have been trapped with artificial intelligence up to this point.
Yeah, you're constantly micromanaging the chat window.
Right.
But we are seeing the big players tear that down right now. If you look at the massive infrastructure shift happening over at OpenAI, they are rapidly expanding the administrative control plane around ChatGPT Enterprise and Adu.
Okay, what does that look like?
Well, they're deploying workspace scope admin APIs, exportable logs, and they're establishing these crystal clear tenant boundaries.
Okay, let me pause you there, because when you say, workspace scoped admin APIs or tenant boundaries, I feel like the average listener might just hear a wall of dry IT jargon.
Yeah, fair enough.
Let's break down what that actually looks like in practice, because if I'm understanding this correctly, a tenant boundary is basically like a corporate high-rise building.
Oh, that is a brilliant way to visualize it. Yes.
So if you lease office space in a high-rise, you want to know that the company down the hall can't just, wander into your board meetings.
Or look at your whiteboards.
Exactly. A tenant boundary ensures that even though everyone is using the same underlying AI infrastructure, the same physical building, basically,
Right.
the data, the prompts, and the outputs of your specific company are cryptographically locked behind your own secure doors. Like, the HR department on floor 4 cannot accidentally leak sensitive salary data into the R&D department's workspace on floor 5.
Precisely. And, before a chief information officer is going to roll out an AI tool to 50,000 employees, that kind of structural isolation isn't just a nice-to-have feature.
It's a mandatory.
Right. It is a legal prerequisite. So OpenAI is introducing global admin consoles that handle centralized identity, manage member life cycles, and allow for things like read-only sharing for their codex coding models.
And read-only sharing for codecs is huge.
Oh, yeah.
Because developers want the AI to suggest code, obviously, but companies are terrified that their proprietary source code will be absorbed and used to train future models.
Exactly.
So read-only access solves that. The AI can look at the homework, but it can't keep a copy of it.
Which really just proves the point, right? The raw capability of the model is becoming table stakes. The real game now is enterprise distribution, and that depends entirely on this administrative plumbing.
Yeah.
But while OpenAI is building out that administrative backend, Microsoft is attacking the problem from a totally different angle with Copilot Cowork.
Right.
They are fundamentally changing how the work itself gets executed.
They recently published an internal look at how Cowork operates, and it really is a complete rejection of the chat window.
Right.
We aren't talking about a digital assistant that waits for you to ask it a trivia question anymore.
No, not at all.
Copilot Cowork is designed to plan and execute multi-step workflows across the entire Microsoft 365 ecosystem.
It shifts the dynamic from just assistance to delegated digital work.
Yeah.
So if you tell Cowork to organize a major project, it doesn't just spit out a to-do list for you.
Right, it actually does the things.
Exactly. It executes multi-step plans across different applications. It handles scheduled and recurring tasks completely independently, and it features cloud-native execution.
I really want to highlight that last point, the cloud-native execution. Because think about how we currently work. If you are running a heavy process on your computer, or even waiting for a really long AI prompt to finish generating, you are tethered to that machine.
You are terrified to close the lid of your laptop.
Exactly, because you might break the connection and lose all the work.
Right.
Cowork severs that tether. Because the execution is happening in the cloud, you can assign a massive, complex workflow to the AI, literally close your laptop, get on a flight, and the AI just continues working. It coordinates between a dedicated researcher agent and an analyst agent, moving data from one app to another while your computer is completely turned off.
Which is amazing. Going back to your intern analogy earlier, this is like graduating from that junior intern to hiring a seasoned senior project manager.
Right.
You don't micromanage a senior manager. You walk into their office and say, here is our overarching objective for the quarter.
Okay.
Show me the plan. And they draft the strategy, they coordinate with the other departments, they execute the steps, and they really only knock on your door when they need your physical signature at a critical decision point.
And that's exactly what the software industry is realizing. The premium AI experience shouldn't require you to be a master prompt engineer.
No.
It should actively hide all the complexity of the underlying models. The system should ingest your high-level goal, formulate the necessary subtasks, and just present you with automated run histories and clear checkpoints where human oversight is required.
Which all sounds incredibly smooth for basic office tasks, right?
Yeah.
But what happens when that senior project manager is handed an objective that is borderline impossible? Because real corporate workflows aren't just drafting emails and organizing spreadsheets.
Oh, definitely not.
They are incredibly messy, technically dense nightmares.
Yeah.
And that messy reality completely breaks the single model approach.
Yeah.
Like if a workflow gets too complex, you cannot just ask a single AI to think harder.
Right.
You have to build an entire team.
I am so glad we are getting into this because AWS just published a production architecture that perfectly illustrates this concept.
Yes.
They used Amazon Bedrock Agent Core to handle a massive scale cloud migration. So they migrated a portfolio of over 300 legacy applications.
Which is mind-blowing.
Anyone who works in enterprise IT knows that moving 300 legacy apps to the cloud is just a logistical horror story.
Oh, it's terrible.
It takes armies of consultants, months of downtime, and endless meetings.
It is the definition of a high-stakes, deeply complex environment.
But I have to push back here for a second because this kind of goes against everything the industry has been hyping up lately.
I mean,
Well, we keep hearing about the imminent arrival of artificial general intelligence, right?
Yeah.
This monolithic, godlike super agent that knows everything and can do anything. If these frontier models are supposedly so brilliant, why are we artificially limiting them? Like, why didn't AWS just dump all the code for those 300 apps into a massive context window, write one giant prompt, and tell the super agent to just figure it out?
that is a phenomenal question. And it really cuts to the core of why AI hype often fails in production. Because when you feed a single model a massive, multifaceted enterprise task, you basically induce cognitive overload.
Even for a machine.
Especially for a machine. As the context window gets bloated with thousands of pages of legacy code, security policies, and conflicting instructions, the model as attention mechanism starts to break down.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it loses the thread of the original goal. It starts hallucinating connections that just aren't there, or it overwrites a compliance rule because some coding instruction contradicted it. The model basically collapses under its own weight.
Okay, so if a single super agent is a total liability, what is the alternative? How did AWS actually mechanize this?
So they split the workload into highly specialized agents with strictly bounded responsibilities.
Yep.
They created one agent dedicated entirely to intake. Like, its only job was to read and map the current state of a legacy application. It didn't write any code. It just gathered facts.
Just a scout, basically.
Right.
Then what happens to those facts?
Right. So the intake agent passes that perfectly structured map to a completely separate agent, and that one is dedicated to writing infrastructure as code.
Let's clarify that for a moment for people. Infrastructure as code means that instead of a human engineer manually clicking through menus to configure servers and databases, the AI writes a script that automatically summons that entire digital infrastructure into existence.
Right, exactly. But critically, it doesn't deploy that code yet.
Okay, what does it do?
It passes the script to a third agent focused strictly on governance and intelligence.
Ah,
This agent checks the code against corporate security policies. If it fails, it sends it back. If it passes, a fourth agent, acting as site reliability engineering, takes over to monitor the actual deployment and ensure the system doesn't crash. Right.
that's incredible. So by breaking the ultimate goal into distinct sequential roles, the AI doesn't get confused.
Exactly. And the efficiency gains are staggering. By structuring the workflow this way, AWS reduced the infrastructure development time from 3 to 4 weeks per application down to a matter of minutes.
Wow. Weeks to minutes.
Yeah. But the crucial takeaway here isn't just the speed, as amazing as that is. It is the realization that the most valuable intellectual property in this system is not the individual AI model.
Right.
The real IP is the orchestration.
The coordination between all the different workers.
Exactly. The secret sauce is how these agents share memory, how they hand off context without losing data, and how the system dynamically routes the workflow to a human for approval before executing a dangerous command.
Wow.
Complex business outcomes require specialized agents connected by a shared memory bus governed by strict rules.
Okay, so we have administrative controls locking down the workspace,
Right.
and we have these orchestrated multi-agent teams executing wildly complex workflows in minutes. But the second you let an autonomous system loose to read every internal document, analyze financial structures, and rewrite your company's core IT infrastructure, you hit a massive wall.
Yeah. The wall of security and trust.
Companies are absolutely terrified. I mean, they are looking at the sheer power of these agents, and the very last thing they want to do is hand over the keys to their kingdom to an external AI provider.
Oh, definitely not.
Which brings us to the current battleground of privacy architecture. Anthropic and OpenAI are taking two very distinct approaches to solving this enterprise paranoia. Let's look at Anthropic first.
Sure. So Anthropic has been working with over 100 enterprise customers, and they are adapting their architecture to give those clients significantly greater control over where their data actually lives.
Okay.
To understand why this matters, you really have to understand the standard safety protocol. When you use a highly capable frontier model, the AI provider typically imposes a retention period, usually around 30 days.
Right. They hold on to the interaction data to ensure the model isn't being used to, generate malware or build weapons. They need time to monitor the safety guardrails.
Exactly. But an enterprise bank or a healthcare provider is going to look at that 30-day retention policy and say, absolutely not.
No way.
Right? They cannot allow their proprietary, highly regulated data to sit on a third-party server, even temporarily.
Right. So Anthropic's reported solution kind of flips the dynamic. They still require the 30-day retention for their most capable models, obviously, but the enterprise customer is allowed to keep that retained information stored within their own cloud infrastructure.
It is a brilliant compromise.
Yeah.
The safety monitoring can still occur, but the sensitive data never actually crosses outside the customer's secure perimeter.
It reminds me of renting a safety deposit box at a bank.
Okay, how so?
Normally, the bank holds the box, and they promise they won't look inside, but you still have to trust them. Anthropic's approach is like the bank letting you take the safety deposit box and bury it in your own basement. You still get the security of the box, but you maintain ultimate physical control over it.
That control changes the entire sales conversation for chief information security officers.
Oh, absolutely.
But meanwhile, OpenAI is attacking the exact same enterprise roadblock, but from a totally different architectural angle.
Right.
They recently previewed a framework called private safety processing.
Yeah, I was looking at this, and it almost seems like a paradox. OpenAI's approach focuses on zero data retention. Like, they promise not to store the sensitive data at all.
Right.
But if they aren't retaining the data, how on earth are they monitoring for safety? You can't flag a toxic or dangerous prompt if you can't actually see the prompt.
Well, it is a highly technical feat. Without getting bogged down in all the math, they have engineered a way to process the interaction in an isolated, ephemeral environment.
Meaning the data exists just long enough to be scanned and then vanishes.
Exactly. Think of it like an airport security scanner.
Yeah.
The machine detects the shape or the density of a prohibited item in your luggage and alerts the guard. but it doesn't take a high-resolution photograph of your personal belongings and store it in a database somewhere.
Ah, okay.
Private safety processing evaluates the interaction against safety classifiers in real time, extracts the risk pattern, and then instantly destroys the raw data before it is ever written to a disk.
Wow. So we have two incredibly complex engineering feats designed to solve one specific psychological barrier, which is trust.
Yep.
And what is really wild about this is that data location, ephemeral processing, and provider access levels used to be incredibly boring back-end IT details.
Oh, totally.
Now they are the primary competitive weapons.
They are the exact features that will win or lose multi-million-dollar enterprise contracts. I mean, a multi-agent system could be the smartest software ever written, but if the privacy architecture doesn't pass the CISO's audit, that software is never seeing the light of day.
Which brings all these threads together into a really startling realization. We have covered administrative boundaries, cloud-native autonomous workflows, multi-agent orchestration, and highly bespoke privacy architectures. When you stack all of those requirements up, the underlying AI model, the actual brain, starts to feel like the least important part of the package.
Yeah. The frontier model is no longer the moat. The intelligence itself is becoming an interchangeable commodity. We're basically witnessing the birth of the ultimate AI control plane.
Like an abstraction layer that sits completely above the AI.
Yes. It requires 4 distinct pillars converging perfectly. First, you need identity and administration strictly defining who can touch what.
Right.
Second, autonomous execution defining what the system is allowed to do without a human pushing a button. Third, orchestration, how specialized digital workers coordinate and hand off context. And fourth, governance and data control, dictating what the system is allowed to retain, access, or expose.
And building that abstraction layer isn't just about managing the complexity of the AI. It is about protecting your business when the AI inevitably breaks. Because we cannot pretend this technology is flawless.
No, we have to design for failure.
I mean, just look at the recent outages at OpenAI.
Yeah, that was rough.
They experienced temporary disruptions that took down their thinking models, their image generation, and, critically, their Codex API authentication.
And that last one is particularly disruptive for an enterprise.
Right, because if the Codex API drops its authentication, it means the coding assistant loses its secure login badge.
Exactly.
It gets locked out of the building, the tool just stops working. Temporary outages happen to every cloud provider on Earth, obviously, but they highlight a massive vulnerability.
Huge vulnerability.
If an enterprise has an autonomous, multi-step workflow running entirely on a single model endpoint, and that endpoint goes offline in the middle of a massive data migration, the whole system crashes. You can't afford to have your digital project manager just vaporize in the middle of a crucial task.
Right, which is why this changes the entire philosophy of system design.
Mm-hmm.
You can no longer assume that any single AI provider is going to be available 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Serious production systems have to build in deep observability into the state of the workflow. You need message queues, you need automatic retries, and above all, you need provider fallback.
Portability. The ability to instantly swap one brain out for another.
Exactly. If you separate your business logic, your unique rules, user context, and orchestration from the underlying AI model, your system becomes resilient.
Right.
So if the primary API connection drops midway through analyzing a document, the application shouldn't crash. It should instantly recognize the failure, freeze the state of the workflow, and seamlessly route the exact same prompt to Anthropic or Google or a localized open source model.
So the user sitting at their desk shouldn't even know an outage occurred.
Exactly.
The work just continues. It's like changing a light bulb while the room stays illuminated.
That is a perfect analogy. That portability is a massive strategic pivot. The companies that dominate this next era of technology aren't going to be the ones with the single smartest AI model.
No.
The market winners will be the companies that build and own this invisible abstraction layer. They will be the ones who make multiple models and agents reliable and secure enough to actually run a global business.
So if you are an enterprise leader or building an AI product right now, tying your entire application logic to a single model provider is essentially corporate malpractice.
Pretty much.
The model is a replaceable component. The true product is the governance by design.
Right. The enterprise standard is solidifying around 5 primitive steps: scoped identity, an explicit objective, agent execution, a human checkpoint, and an auditable result. That pipeline is what actually generates value.
This completely rewrites the mandate for corporate strategy.
It does.
We don't need another generic slide deck debating which AI is marginally smarter. Organizations need to aggressively map out their control layer. They need to audit their permissions, define their data retention perimeters, locate their human approval bottlenecks, and relentlessly test their fallback architecture.
Because the models will constantly leapfrog each other. They will change, they will update, and they will fail. The control layer is the only thing that survives those changes. The intelligence is a commodity. The control is the asset.
So what does this all mean? If you take nothing else away from this discussion, let it be this provocative thought. The next massive competitive advantage for your company isn't going to come from plugging into a slightly smarter AI model. It will come from building a control layer that decides exactly what the AI knows, who approves its work, and how to swap it out the very second it fails. The true winners of the AI revolution might just be the companies building the invisible guardrails.
It is the ultimate paradox of autonomy. To let the machines do more, we have to build much stronger, much smarter boxes to put them in.
That is all for today's episode of the Toshogu Podcast. If you enjoyed it, like this episode, subscribe, and join us next time for the latest in AI. Until then, keep building what outlives you.